Now that we've gone through the components of the board, let's demonstrate how to use them properly. In order for anything to be on the air, the following steps must occur. The proper input must be selected. The desired audio from that input must be queued up, meaning prepared for broadcast. The pot must be in program. The fader must be potted up, and the pot must be turned on. If any one of these does not happen, the audio will not be on the air and you will have dreaded dead air. Now, there are different techniques to play any pre recorded or pre produced element on the air versus activating the microphone to perform a live break. Assuming the proper input is selected, the audio is queued up, and the pot is in program, the proper technique to play a song is to pot up the fader first, then turn on the pot when you're ready to play. The opposite is true for activating the microphone. Again, we'll assume the microphone input is selected and the pot is in program, but this time you'll turn on the microphone first, which will also mute the monitors and activate the on air light outside the door, and then you will pot up the fader when you are ready to speak. You never want to leave the microphone fader potted up and turn it on and off as needed. This can cause an undesired pop sound on the air when the on button is pressed, but more importantly, this technique lends itself to unwanted statements, mistakes, or noises getting on the air if the off button is not deactivated properly. Another important technique to learn is having a clean board. To do this, you will pot down the fader first, then turn off any unused pot. This method applies to all pots, the pre produced playback sources, and the microphone pot. The only active pots, meaning the ones on and potted up, are the one or ones currently on the air and the one or ones that will be utilized next. Everything else should be off and potted down. As you work with multiple channel consoles, you'll realize the importance of having a clean board to produce a professional, flawless on air product. Here are some other terms we may have gone over quickly, but you'll come across often in the radio broadcast industry. As mentioned earlier, cue up means to prepare an element for broadcast. Crossfade is the fading out of one element while fading in another. If your board technique is loose, that means you are late when transitioning between elements. That is, the transition contains dead air. If your board technique is choppy, that means the second element started too soon and cut off the first. If your technique is tight, that means the transition was smooth and did not contain dead air, which is the ideal technique. If your programming is hot, the VU meter levels are too high and overmodulated, clipping and peaking past 0 VU. If your levels are too low, they are peaking below 0 VU and are not loud enough. I've also included some universal player icons and their functions if you are unfamiliar with them. These are often displayed on playback equipment, sometimes in place of a written description. Review your lecture guide and the slides as needed. Contact me with any questions, then proceed to the quiz. We'll discuss music programming in the next session.